Here we go.
Think of a time you were dealing with a lot of pressure. What was your reaction to this pressure? How did you respond to any mistakes that you made in the situation? During this time, it's common to feel like anxiety is enveloping you. Through my experience, I've found that taking a moment, setting up a plan, helps subdue that anxiety. For why and how planning works, we are going to relive a story from my past in which I could have planned before I went out, while I was out, and after an incident that occurred when I was out. To begin with, it was a rainy Saturday night about a year ago during the pandemic, so I wasn't really doing anything. And so I text all my friends, like, can anybody hang out or want to do anything? And nobody is able to. So I come up with the idea that I'm going to go out and deliver food door dashing, which you can go out whenever you want and make your own schedule. So I was going to go out and make some easy money. So I text my mom, I'm going to go and DoorDash, and she responds with, all right, be careful, the roads are wet outside. So at this point, I should have taken a moment and set a plan to either come back home as soon as the conditions worsened or just go and DoorDash another time. So meanwhile, I leave my house and I go and deliver food from restaurant to restaurant, and eventually the rain starts to pick up and the conditions start to worsen. So I say to myself, I'm going to go and deliver this one last order and then go straight home. So I pick up the food from this restaurant straight off the highway and I'm on my way to the destination. And that is when the crash occurred. So I was turning left at a light as I was on my way, and the light was green. I didn't have the arrow, so I had to idle up into the middle of the intersection to get ready to turn. And while I'm out in the middle of the intersection, the light turns from yellow to red, and so I'm stuck trying to turn, and I think everybody's going to slow down, kind of let me go. And I think I have a window of opportunity, and I go to turn, and that is when a car from the opposite side of the intersection comes out of nowhere at the last moment, and we collide. So I'm kind of turning like this, and they're coming at the last moment, and we crash like that. So before, or this all could have been prevented if I just like stuck to my plan to go straight home as soon as the conditions worsened. But after the crash, I was freaking out. I had no idea what to do, and I'd never been in a situation like this before, and I didn't realize the seriousness of it all. So I left the scene of the accident and
Oh no.
and actually dropped off the food at the house and completed the delivery. So after I drop off the food, I get out of my car and I check the damage, and the whole like, front left side of my bumper is just totaled, and like my car was barely drivable. And so I call my dad and I'm like, what do I do? I have no idea what to do. I'm freaking out. And so he says, go back to the scene of the accident and like I'll meet you there. So I get back in my car. I drive to the scene of the accident. I see like all the cop cars there and all the lights, and I see the other person's car, and their car is like way worse than mine was. Like the whole left side was kind of like all dented, and then the left tire was like disconnected from the vehicle all the way over here. Like their car's here, and their tire's like way over there. And so I get out of my car, and immediately a cop comes up to me, starts questioning me like, "Where were you? You could go to jail right now for hit and run." And so at this point, I'm just completely freaking out and having an anxiety attack. I just think my future is ruined. I thought like my whole life was like I wasn't going to have any chance of success. So as I'm looking for just my car insurance, my dad shows up and he sort of calms me down. So like says, look, you're not going to go to jail. Like you're only 17. And sort of explains my whole situation to the cop where like I've never been in this situation, but I'm here now and like I know like the seriousness of it all. So through eventually the cop and everybody's kind of calms down and she comes back and kind of relays the consequences for me, but she ended up letting me off kind of easy. I was left with just a ticket, driving probation, which means you just can't get another ticket or your license is taken away, but only lasts a certain amount of time. And I have to appear in court, which is just kind of like a formality. crash situation, I kind of learned not to just act straight off my emotions and like anxiety in the moment. I learned to take a breather, take a step back, set up a plan, and stick to that plan. Ultimately, there was no serious consequences from this incident, and I learned from my mistakes that I need to stick to my plan. I learned that not planning can lead to dire results in 3 instances in one night. And then all this could have been prevented if I stopped the plan before I went out to DoorDash, while I was out DoorDashing, and after the crash occurred. Thankfully for me, the cop was understanding and I was let off pretty easily, and nobody was seriously injured. Oh, at the beginning of my speech, I asked you, how did you respond to a situation that was overwhelming, and what was your reaction to any mistakes and anxiety that you had during that time? So now I'm going to ask you, did you set a plan and did you stick to that plan? Because the situation can spiral out of control and be much, much worse if you don't. And also remember, the first step of what to do in a car crash, according to the Strauss Injury Law Group, is to remain at the scene of the accident. Thank you.